after that, then cannot have any strength in saying that we are postponing because we got a letter, because there has not been compliance before the letter. So I wanted us to build that concurrence that the responses were not received either by us or the Auditor General for perusal. So the letter has no consequence.
Yeah, it's all, in my view, an exercise in futility, that letter. Because if we communicated to Nairobi on 14th of March, that gave them adequate time to do what they were required to do. The Auditor General has reported that there's been no correspondence, there's been no conversation at all. Even if the client was here with the management responses, which have not been reviewed by the Auditor General, we would have a problem. The Clerk of the Senate has confirmed that we didn't receive the responses by 1st of April, which was expectation. So even if the client was here, we'd be having a problem. And further, and I think maybe we might need to make this a resolution, that any request for postponement of a meeting must come at least 7 days to the meeting. The same way we insist that responses must come 7 days to a meeting should be the same way we insist that if you're seeking a deferment, that request must be put before the committee at least 7 days to. And I think we now need to make that clear to avoid this situation where a governor wakes up and because he's not in the right mood, he writes a letter. We have seen Governor Sakaja moving around in prayer and in all sorts of fast-breaking activities. I wonder why it would then be difficult for him to honor the invitation of the Senate. But before we make any conclusions, let me ask the Senators Gataya and Senator Dundo to go on record, and thereafter maybe open up the plenary on this matter.
Thank you, Chair. This is Senator Mwenda Gataya, Mofa Tharaka County, member of this committee.
Karibu.
Madulo, Senator Isiolo.
Karibu. Now, we have a problem here, and at the risk of mixing up issues, I think some of us are members of other committees where Nairobi City County Governor has demonstrated clear contempt of the Senate. In the Roads Committee, where Senator Sifuna and I sit, we have had problems with this county. And I think even in this committee, we have had problems. We are dealing with 2 years where the opinion was adverse. And how much money is involved? What was the total budget in these 2 years? Or in each of the years? So was it 39 billion? 39 billion. 39 or 37?
39 billion and 37 billion.
So we are talking about 76 billion
Yes.
Kenya shillings. So we are to have a conversation on 76 billion Kenya shillings, which is easily the equitable share of 12 or 13 counties combined. The governor has chosen not to appear. And I think that even that letter that is referred to, we will have a lot of difficulties accepting it because of the time within which it came. And so I agree with Senator Methu that that letter, its timing, can then not be used to move the committee. It cannot move the committee to any position. So the facts are, the governor is not here. The governor has not corresponded with the Auditor General. The governor has not corresponded with the Senate. So what do we do to get answers to this 76 billion? Members, let me get your views. Senator Onyonka.
Chair, I just think you may have to pronounce yourself, of course, with the consultation with the Senator of Nairobi, But I think these things to continue like this, because we have this issue in Nairobi, we have another one in Isiolo, and there are many others. The best thing, Chair, let's take this thing to the floor of the House as a motion, and let's pronounce ourselves. And let the whole of the Senate just say that this is a county that should not even be released money. I think we need to do something drastic for people to begin to realize that this is not just a joke.
Thank you. Senator Gata.
Chair, as a committee, we are becoming relevant almost every day. Because we have been taken with a lot of contempt. And I think if this trend continues, if it's not checked, maybe in the future, no governor is going to appear before us. Chair, I think this is the right time this committee is supposed to pronounce itself strongly to make sure that we stamp an authority, especially when it comes to oversighting the governors as per the mandate. It is very sad that the committee is supposed not to oversight the expenditure of the revenue of the national share, and all these things is being disregarded and taken just so casual and lightly. So, Chair, let us pronounce ourselves strongly and make sure that the world knows, the whole country knows that this is the committee of the Senate that is supposed to make sure that money that is being devoted to our countries is prudently put to use.
Thank you, Senator Gata. We have the advantage in this committee that we've got several chairs and several members of leadership of the House. So I'm sure we'll be able to give a very strong message. Senator Sifuna.
Yeah, Chair, first of all, let me express my disappointment once again with my governor. Chair, I think this is an exceptional case. Nairobi is an exceptional case. Unlike what the Senator for Kisii has said, other governors find time to appear before the Public Accounts Committee of the Senate. Mr. Chairman, I belong to 3 other committees. The first one is the Energy Committee. We have had problems with Governor Sakaja appearing before the Energy Committee to respond to questions regarding the disaster in Mradi in Embakasi East. We have had occasion to speak to every other agency that was involved in one way or another by acts of omission or commission in that incident. The CS for Energy, Honorable David Chirchir, appeared before the Energy Committee. The EPRA management appeared before us. The National Environmental Management Authority appeared before us. The only agency that is remaining so that we can close that inquiry is the county government of Nairobi. And the last meeting we had at the Energy Committee was, I think, 2 weeks ago. They summoned him. He is supposed to appear before that committee tomorrow. And I am going to again face the specter where he's not appearing. At the Housing Committee, where we are both members chair, regarding the urban upgrading program, we have the largest housing program in the country. Nairobi has the largest housing program where we are redeveloping 13 estates. He failed to appear 6 times until the chair of the committee had to fine him 500,000 shillings. He is the reason and the motivation why Senator Ososi brought the motion before the House to enhance that fine, because 500,000 to Governor Sakaja is nothing, and to most of his governors is nothing. That is why there was a motion before the House to even give committees of this House and the House itself powers to arrest these people. I was with my governor on Saturday at the consecration of the 2 auxiliary bishops for Nairobi. He didn't indicate to me anywhere that he was going to travel. I was seated right next to him. So for us to receive this sort of contempt, and at the Energy Committee, he had the audacity one time to write at 8 a.m. when the meeting is supposed to start at 9, saying that he was going for a burial in Nyeri. That same burial that we all attended, but we had to prioritize parliamentary business. We finished and we went to Nyeri. Mr. Chairman, this is an exceptional case. And I really would strongly agree with the suggestion that has been made that this is not a matter to be discussed in this committee anymore. Governor Sakaja has to be brought before the whole House to be discussed, because you will see this frustration run across all the other committees. Even at the Committee of Health, he cancelled a meeting of the Committee of Health one time and he told us he was at State House. And this is a former senator. So this is a governor who needs to be brought to account. If you look at the matters we are discussing, Honorable Chair, 2021, we have adverse report, adverse opinions from the Auditor General. 2021, 2022 is adverse. 2022, 2023, which was just submitted to the Senate last month, is also an adverse opinion. When will we ever have to have a conversation about the issues facing Nairobi? And he likes to claim that things are working in Nairobi. But if you ask anyone, just to name one thing that is working in Nairobi, nobody can tell you. If you look at the schedule of the projects that are stalled in Nairobi, Mr. Chairman, it is crazy. And yet we receive the highest amount of money at this particular point in time. Nairobi ranks number 1 on all the negative lists. If it is the highest pending bills in the counties, out of the 160 billion shillings pending for all the 47 counties, Nairobi has 107 billion pending. We have stalled projects from hospitals to markets to roads, but we can't have a conversation with your governor. Chairman, even if the people of Nairobi say that I am a bad person, that I am just hounding the governor, this is the moment when we have to do oversight. We have to have this conversation with him here. So if I can't have a conversation with him here on behalf of the people of Nairobi, when I follow him to funerals and those places he likes to party, can I be blamed, really? Can the committee be blamed? And this is a terrible situation that we're facing. If you look at the amounts of money, Nairobi is now doing budgets of over 40 billion. We don't pay suppliers. People are being auctioned. Garbage in places like Inako, in Umoja, have piled up. They are reaching the power lines. You go to places like Awangware, garbage has blocked sections of the road. And you can't come to have a conversation with us so that we help you to sort out this mess. If I was Pontius Pilate chairman, I want to hand over my governor to you for hanging because I am unable to do anything else. I mean, what am I supposed to do as a senator? Please take this governor and do with him as you will please. I have washed my hands.
No, you should not wash your hands. If there's a crucifixion, you will also drive a nail.
I'll drive the first nail.
Yeah. I think this is, Senator Sifuna has really made a strong case for this. Because where else do we meet a governor to discuss objectively issues around the impact of development and devolution, if not in this forum? Where else would you find that governor? When Senator Dulo goes to the streets of Isiolo, she's being accused of sabotaging the governor, and yet they cannot come here. When Sifuna goes to the streets of Nairobi, is accused of sabotaging the governor, and yet this was the impartial, objective, constitutional organ for that conversation. So what should we do? As the speaker says, we cannot be a house of lamentation. Senator Dulo.
Chair, I think we have powers to take action on such wrong governance. And my proposal is you need to bring a motion to the House where we pass as a resolution and take action against those governors who refuse to appear before this committee. And one of the proposal is the one that was made by Senator Onyonka, depending on the number of times they refuse to appear. So, and I think if their money is stopped, they are going to run all over.
Yes.
So that should be the best proposal and resolution that Senate should pass.
Thank you.
And I think, Chair, you have to move with speed because this is going to be a trend.
Yeah.
Immediately we resume on Tuesday, you must table your motion so that we can quickly pass and make a decision on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we share this, I want someone to reflect, maybe the legal team or the researchers. Contempt of parliament has never been defined as an offense, but contempt of court is, isn't it? So what are the consequences of contempt of court? And why would contempt of parliament be taken as a casual thing that does not invite certain consequences. And the judiciary is an arm of government or an arm of state, if you want to call it that. Parliament is also an arm of state. Contempt of executive orders and directives invites very, very strong repercussions, including Kindiki declaring shoot to kill orders. So why should contempt of parliament be such a laissez-faire matter? Perhaps that should be part of what we address in that motion, Senator Onyonka.
Absolutely. Because you see, Chair, I don't think there is anything that stops this committee going in that direction. I don't think there's anything that stops the Senate because our responsibilities are very clear. And I think the Supreme Court has actually pronounced itself. If it means we seek the good guidance of my Secretary General and other lawyers in this committee, we can actually have this matter even cascading to the Supreme Court for them to interpret what exactly do we do with a governor who doesn't want to come and meet this committee, and statutorily, that's what he should do.
Chair, it is shocking that we are discussing something because we have been around since I think almost like this is our second term. Senate has been there close to 11 years. Do you have a precedent?
Yes, I think there are countries just next door, Uganda. The Gora police
No, I'm saying in Kenya.
Oh.
Do we have a similar case scenario where we have governors who have
contempt of parliament can lead to censure, because that's usually the consequence. You can be censured, you can be named.
Can they say censor the governor? Unless I thought maybe governor is supposed to be censored by the MCs. Then I don't know.
Yes, so
I think there are those constitutional gaps are there.
And that's why we are saying we need to come
We
up with a
power to
motion that
recommend the
deals
COMP
with
not to
that.
release a mandate to the governor, as I said it.
Yeah, that's possible. That's within our powers because provisions on stoppage of funds are there, flagrant disregard of the PFM and other laws.
Can we recommend an arrest?
Yes, it's in the motion.
Because I've always known that Senate is a quasi-judicial. I mean, it's a court away from the normal judiciary setup.
And that's why I'm saying there's a gap. This, whatever we have in the Powers and Privileges Act of summons and fines, is just a slap on the wrist. People like Sakaja can pay 500,000 every week, maybe drawing it from parking fees of Nairobi. So we need to have much more stronger consequences. And that's why I was asking the legal clerk to tell us, what is in law, what is the consequence of contempt of court? Is it jail, is it fine, and for what duration?
Chair, the consequence of contempt of court is the judge can direct that you actually serve time if you refuse to purge that contempt. So you've seen civil servants, for instance, who refuse to honor court orders. The threat for the imprisonment is always there. And this is why it was important to support Senator Ososi's motion. But I know that it has to go to the National Assembly because it was bringing amendments to the Powers and Privileges Act. Once those amendments are in place, we will have more powers. But for now, I think the suggestion that has been made, a motion needs to be brought. I have no problem as the Senator of Nairobi if the Senate resolved to stop money going to Nairobi. And nobody should argue that you're punishing the people of Nairobi because nothing is happening even with the funds. Nothing is happening in Nairobi. So, Chair, this is why I'm saying, for me really, let the words of the Speaker reverberate, that we cannot be a house of lamentations. Once the powers of arrest come, once the National Assembly passes those amendments to the powers and privileges, we will have a bit more in terms of what we can do. But for the moment, let us look at the things that the Senate can do. And the only way to deal with these rogue people, we should stop all money going to Sakaja's government until he appears here to answer this question. There's no other way.
Chair,
And
you know, this
immediately that is
committee,
done.
this committee has the sharpest legal minds actually in the Senate. This committee is composed of very brilliant legislators. I don't know why we are falling short of getting to the answer at what we are supposed to do with these rogue governors, because, you know, we have been, some of us have been around for quite some time, and I think you must have witnessed some of these things before. So I don't think whether we are supposed to be struggling to get answers to what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to put our minds together and consult maybe other precedents across the board. Because we can't continue like this. Maybe we are becoming irrelevant every day.
Yeah, and you had asked for precedents. One of the first scenarios that the Senate faced was with regards to appearance of Oparanya before the Public Accounts Committee. He refused to appear. He went to court, and I think he lost the applications he took to court. And the committee directed the Inspector General of Police to arrest and produce Oparanya before the Senate. The IG did not honor the directives of the Senate. So the Senate had to march to Vigilance House to demand the arrest of that governor, which again did not happen. So we cannot, we can reflect on those experiences, but we should never be seen to be acting in vain. Because if we are seen to be acting in vain, I have heard it from some governors say that, well, Senate, they will go, I will go there, they will embarrass me, but that will be the end. Or I will choose not to go. They will fine me, I will pay the fine, and I will continue paying the fine indefinitely. So we must have stiffer consequences. And it's not just a matter of going to the IG to seek the arrest of Sakaja, because that has been tried in the past. We need to try something different.
Chair.
Maybe Senator Mariam has been seeking this.
Chair, mine is the last comment of yours. We need to do a long-term consequences so that we can, one is maybe we can, as a legal, I don't know where the gaps is as a legal law, if this IBC or what, we need in such scenario is a lot of money. What if we can do and that somebody such kind cannot vie in any other positions? It's permanent. Unaharibia CV so that he cannot go in any as like an impeachment. If you do it something that this guy governors not appearing to any other committees for 6 times, they are supposed to do. They are not supposed to vie any positions for the next after 5 years. Maybe you can do also a foot like that so that they can see, these guys are serious, so that next time I cannot come back because I have my CVs it has been in such scenario, so that at least we have a teeth to bite.
Yeah, declaring persons unfit to hold public office.
Yeah. Chair.
Senator Du?
I think the powers of someone at the tail end lies with a different institution, which has been frustrated several times. My position is, since we have powers of making resolutions or passing resolutions within the House, we should actually do that, because resolution of Parliament stands. And I think we are the ones who disperse funding. If somebody does not want to come and account for budget that they have been allocated, the best solution is to stop money going there so that they are held accountable. So I think powers of someone aside, we should actually move a motion in the House to hold these people accountable. We cannot allow that to happen. You've seen even EACC has been withdrawn from this committee, and nobody is giving an explanation. So that clearly shows how the committee of this House is actually being frustrated, and we should not just sit and watch. I thank you.
Thank you. Senator Mithu?
Honorable Chair, even as we look at the long-term solutions to this particular problem, we are seized with the matter, and I feel the pain of Senator Sifuna, because even though we have a problem with the other county governments, the kind of monies that we are speaking about, over 70 billion, is not little money. And also the kind of reports that we are dealing with are not unqualified, are not qualified, are 3 advanced opinions in a row. And Honorable Chair, in putting our foot down, I'm very persuaded to follow the route of Senator Fatuma Dulo, an experienced legislator, in the sense that if we issue summons, which we will ultimately, because I mean that is what has been provided for in our standing orders, and the governor also fails to appear, and we find that governor, as you have correctly put it, that governor will pay the 500,000 and can pay the 500,000 continuously every week for so long as we want the 500,000. But a more permanent solution and an easier route is what Senator Drew is saying. Let's have a motion in the House that to stop, if we're able to stop the flow of money from the Office of the Control of Budget, who I don't know why the Senator for Isiolo did not notice that it is not only the ESCC who are absent, but also the Control of Budget. If I am not wrong, they today is not present. Just allow me to finish, then you come in. So, Honorable Chair, if you're able to stop money from flowing, because if you cannot be able to account for what you have received, then we should stop what you are receiving, and I'm sure that will be an easier route for governors to become more accountable. So I support that proposal by Senator Dulo that bring that motion. Let's have a resolution. Let's use them available tools of trade, because you've tried the Inspector General of Police and you are frustrated. We have issued summons. Senator Sifuna has said that for the Energy Committee, they have invited the governor for 6 times, and he has not appeared. And it is the same person. So if I think especially for this committee, because the matters that you are dealing with are on financial prudence, we need to deal with that financial aspect of talking to or having a resolution that the control budget does not release any more money to the Nairobi County government until they appear before this committee and account for what they have received already.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Senator Nyonka.
Maybe, Chair, the last point for me I would like to make is that even just being given an opportunity as a committee to debate and discuss the behavior of the governor and some of the governors that we'll be working with data, information, and the consequentials, I think would make it possible for our colleagues to actually make deliberations which, as far as I'm concerned, would make some of these governors realize that we are not joking. Thank you.
So, members, from your contribution, I see we have problems at 3 levels. Number 1, we have a problem at the audit, at the time of audit, and that's why we have an adverse opinion. Most of these things are issues that have not been supported, expenditure that has not been supported. Non-provision of documentation during audit is an offense, and the Public Audit Act already speaks to it. So where we are having a problem is, first of all, enforcement of the Public Audit Act. We have written a law that is aggressive and that is very clear on such cases. Adverse opinions, disclaimers, generally are as a result of either outright theft or non-provision of documentation. So in our motion, we must also address issues of enforcement of the Public Audit Act. Then we have a problem at the point of implementation. Who enforces the Public Audit Act? Who prosecutes? Who investigates and prosecutes? Auditor General, you will have reached a conclusion that documents were not provided. And we'll have agreed with you that documents were not provided. Who is supposed to pursue conviction? ESCC and DPP, isn't it? Now, we have a serious problem with ESCC, and this I must put on record, and I know the media is here. We have received no explanation why the officer from the ESCC has been withdrawn, and the withdrawal came at the time when we were going to Isiolo, and clerk, we directed that we write to the ESCC to give us an explanation on why the officer was withdrawn and to get a replacement. Have we received any response from ESCC?
Mr. Chairman, no, we have not received any response, but the letter went about a week ago.
I will direct that we call the chair of the ESCC and the CEO of the ESCC to present that explanation before the Senate and before the media. Because we have so many, yes, they'll appear before this committee. We have so many things of implementation, matters of implementation, that are hanging. Because whatever resolution we make out of this that requires a resolution through conviction, then we must rely on EACC or DCI to facilitate that. So let's get an appropriate date. Even if, notwithstanding the response, we still want to have a conversation with EACC on other matters to do with implementation, particularly implementation of the Public Audit Act. Those provisions are already there. The officers who presided over the management of finances in Nairobi City County, they should be in jail by now, if you are to go by the Public Audit Act. The third part where we have a problem is enforcing appearance before the Senate. And I think we have said it very clearly, that we must elevate contempt of parliament to the same level as contempt of court, yes, and as contempt of executive orders. You have heard ministers saying that we shall shoot to kill. When they say we shall shoot to kill, they are basically saying if you disregard instructions from the executive, then we've got a recourse. What about parliament, which is represents the people? We cannot be seen to be desperate and people who just lament. So I agree that we must craft a motion that will cover those perspectives. On the issue of being declared unfit to hold public office, I think we have said that particularly for those who have professional responsibility. These adverse reports were presided over by some accountants. Why should they be in office? Even the one for the 2022-2023.
Yes.
Why should those accountants be in office? Why would an accountant get an adverse opinion in Mombasa, then comes to Nairobi, fetches an adverse opinion? In fact, some of them, we know their histories. They started getting adverse opinions in Isiolo, then they were promoted to Mombasa, then now they've been promoted to Nairobi. And the reports of the Auditor General always bear the same conclusion. Those people should not be trusted, should not be within an inch of public resources. And I think we can also carry in that motion, that resolution, that those professionals should be declared unfit to hold public office and should be disciplined by their respective bodies. Now, before we just close this and give directions, did you get, okay, sir, did you, on the question of contempt of court, I know Senator Sifuna has addressed it, but why do you think we don't have legislative provisions to elevate contempt of parliament to the same level as contempt of court? Remember, we perform a quasi-judicial function. So the tools that are available to the judiciary should also be available to us within fair administrative action.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Indeed, within the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, there is a provision for offences where section, just give me a minute, Chair, where a person can be jailed, and I think it's section 24, Chair. So the issue with that is when it comes to enforcement, the article that establishes the Office of the Inspector General does not allow the Inspector General to be given directions on any person. So that is the gap that we face when it comes to enforcement of orders with regards to the committee.
Just read the section as it is.
Just a minute, Chair. Give me a minute, Chair, I'll come back to you.
Chair,
Senator Sifuna.
for that. Chair.
Yeah.
Can you Chair, there's provisions in the Public Finance Management Act on how you assess the need for intervention in accordance with Article 225, which is a stoppage of funds. And you will see under Section 94 of that Act, it provides for indicators of serious or persistent material breach. Because Chairman 225, so let me open that. Yes, Article 225, Subarticle 3 provides for instances where a cabinet secretary responsible for finance may stop transfer of funds to a public entity. And at 2253A, it says only for a serious material breach or persistent material breaches of the measures established under that regulation. So if you come to how you determine the serious or persistent material breaches, Article Section 94, 1 from A to B, C, and D, you will see there at D, the following factors, singly or in combination, may further indicate that a state organ or public entity is in serious material breach or persistent material breach of the measures established under this Act. Number one, the controller of budget has raised material issues in the quarterly report. The Auditor General has withheld an opinion or issued a disclaimer due to inadequacies in the financial statements or records of the state organ or public entity, or has issued an opinion which identifies a serious financial problem in the state organ or public entity. So, Mr. Chairman, first of all,
which could be adverse.
Yes, this is adverse. 3 financial years of adverse opinions, in my view, is an indicator of serious or persistent material breaches. Then, Mr. Chairman, if you go to, I think it is Section 96.
And as Senator Sifuna proceeds, also check for us what the opinion was in the prior year, which was 2019-2020, so that we contextualize for how long have we had these adverse opinions.
Yes. So, Chairman, there's a procedure under 96 for stoppage of funds process in county government. It says 96(1), where the cabinet secretary finds a state organ, which is a county government entity, to be in serious or persistent material breach of its obligations or financial commitments, the cabinet secretary shall, in accordance with Article 225 of the Constitution, immediately stop the transfer of funds. So I believe in this particular case, there are serious or persistent material breaches of the responsibilities of the county government of Nairobi. This